Spot parameters is a new feature added in Blocks 3. This feature can be used when binding buttons and other controls to their target properties. This is useful when part of the property path needs to vary across spots. Since this is a rather abstract concept, an example can help explaining how this works. Let's consider a display for showing different videos. An iPad is used to select the desired video and to play it. This is all straightforward to do with blocks. Simply bind the buttons on the iPad to the desired properties of the display. So here I have the display that is showing the video, and here I have the control panel. And here's the block for the control panel. You can see this block named control is assigned to this. And here are the two video blocks that I want to show on this display. So if I go in and take a look at these buttons inside the control panel, you can see that this button named Hawk brings out the block named Hawk and sets that as the current block on display 1. Likewise, this one controls the same property, the block name of display 1, and sets it to the other Wireshark video that I have here. Okay, and then if we look at the actual behavior as it runs, I have a couple of browser windows here. This one simulating the display, and this one simulating the iPad control. Then I can switch between the videos using these buttons here, and then I can play the video and pause the video using this button. So it all works as expected with a single display spot and a single control panel. But what if you now want two displays, each with its own separate control panel, with both sets using the same content? Since each iPad should control its own display, those iPads can't easily use the same block, since the name of the target display is hard-coded into the property path of each button. Here I've added two more displays, one for the display spot and the other one for the control panel. I've also added two more browser windows so we can simulate both the displays and the control panels. Now if I press the buttons to switch video up here, you can see how it switches on this panel. But same if I press over here, it switches that one, which is not what we want. We want this panel to control that one, even though we're using the same block here. That's not the way it works now, since the paths to the display spots are hard-coded in the block itself. So let's try to fix that, so that instead of having all these buttons go directly to display 1, we use a parameter to specify whether they should control display 1 or display 2. Just go into the block, select one of the buttons here, and here we have the problem. This is hard-coded for display 1. But we'll replace that hard-coded display 1 with a parameter. And let's call the parameter target, since that's a target display of the operation. So we select that here, and we can now see that the target within brackets has replaced the previously hard-coded name. And we do the same with this one. So this will also use the target parameter. So we pick it and select. And this one, parameter, this one, select. So now all these three are using a parameter rather than a hard-coded path. But the parameter has as its formal value still display 1, so everything will still work the same, and we haven't really gained anything at this point. Let's go back and take a look at that here again, so we can see. We reload these guys just to make sure we have the latest changes, and we can see they're still doing the same thing. Let's open that editor window again. Okay, so how do we actually make these parameters have different values for the two displays depending on whether we use control panel 1 or control panel 2? Well, the way you do that is as a setting in the spot used for the control panel itself. So that, using the parameter here, will essentially override the formal value specified in the block. So here we say the name, again, same name, target, and the initial value for this one will be display 1, since we're now on control panel 1, which should control display 1. So that its target is display 1, and the target of this one will be display 2. Okay. So now the value of the target here for control panel 1 is display 1, and for control panel 2 the parameter value is display 2. So now when we go back and we reload these guys to pick up those parameters, we should have the desired behavior. So this one now controls display 1. We can play that video, and this now controls display 2. We can play that video, even though these two spots both use exactly the same block. And that's of course an advantage if you later need to go back and update this block, and maybe you're not using it on 2 displays, maybe you're using it on 10 displays. Then of course having 10 copies of this block that you need to update and to keep in sync is a hassle. So it's much better to use the same block when they should look and behave the same way than just use this kind of parameter to specify the details that are different between the two control panels.